are out here with the Andrew Jones number 25. What is up, y'all? How you feeling, Brad?
Feeling good. Hey, today, as you know, any of you watching visually on our podcast, you can see different background. I kind of had to Frankenstein together a set here because everything's torn down. We had our first annual sales-a-thon last night. Sales-a-thon, extravaganza, dark horse, whatever the name was. Thank you to any of you who participated or tuned in and watched. Amazing night. Tons and tons of orders, and the most important part is we got to donate a ton of money to charity, like 8 times the amount that we thought we were going to. So that's amazing. We'll release like the final number on that later, but thank you all who participated. If you got a UV zone, congratulations. If not, you still contributed something pretty awesome.
Dude, absolutely. I got to tune in for a little bit, and just the funness. I mean, people getting their legs waxed, having to run miles. It was... Y'all, it's definitely something, because I'm sure that VOD like went up obviously after it all finished with it being live. So you definitely go check it out.
Yeah, it was a quick 2 hours, or actually I think we went almost 3, but it was quick. I thought we were gonna like maybe have some lag time. Now it was action packed, phones ringing the whole time, people getting their legs wet, ginger shots. Hunter almost threw up like 3 times, I think. So definitely check it out if you get a chance. But today, actually, we're going to do something a little different. It is episode 25, I believe, right, Robbie? So
it is
25 episodes in. My bag has come a long way. We saw some people comment on our Instagram, on Trevor's Instagram in the bag, that the people want to see my bag, Robbie. So let's talk about that today. Robbie's going to...
Come on with it.
What are we going to do today? How do we want to do this, Robbie?
Yeah, so normally, for those of you a little peek behind the curtain, we love doing this here on In the Bag. Show you guys a little bit of the process. We've talked about it before, that we will send Brad out to the field, and I will just tell him what he's throwing and say, hey, good luck, maybe throw it on these angles. And then right before the show starts, I will send Brad the bag of our special guest, and that way Brad doesn't have like preconceived thoughts on how these discs are supposed to fly. But today, I actually don't have Brad's bag. So
Correct.
We are going to have Brad sort of give us a quick preview of what is in his bag, starting with putters, working our way up to drivers. And then Brad will hear what you got, and then we'll kind of dissect and talk through some of the processes of like, why is that? You said you use it for this, but could it be used for this? Those kind of questions, and see if we really do have this bag as dialed as possible. And also, the cool thing is, Brad, because we're always going to be testing discs as this podcast continues on, nothing's final here today. Correct. By any means. So we could do this every 25 episodes.
Right. Yeah. And we're going to need to. It's definitely not finalized by any means. I mean, some of the slots I feel pretty comfortable with, but really majority things are flexing in and out of my bag, just because, again, every week I'm throwing something a little different. And not only am I throwing something different, I'm thinking about things a little differently and realizing I do have holes. We're definitely going to see there's still holes in my bag, especially in the driver range and some of the maybe lower speed discs too. I mean, there's always room for improvement, but I'm really focusing on trying to like really tune up my lower speed discs, because I feel like if I get those tuned up and kind of where I want them, then my accuracy is a little bit better. My shot decisions are a little bit better, which I have noticed. And I've been shooting some lower scores just because I'm confident in those lower speeds. Now, when I get to the fairway and distance driver category, control driver, there's a lot to be desired. But, I've spent less time on that because I don't need a 13 speed in my bag, right? But there is some need for some shots, and we'll talk about that. And like Robbie said, we're going to do this completely live. So Robbie does not know what's in my bag. I mean, he has an idea of a few things because we've talked about it, but my bag as a whole, he's never seen it. So he's gonna walk through that. We're gonna make a chart live here, which we'll share at the end, and then we'll kind of talk about, maybe some recommendations, because I'm always open for those.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's so let's go ahead and get started. Brad, what do you got for putters?
Okay, so I'm really only, I guess, technical, what I'm considering putters. I only have 4 in my bag. 2 of them are putting putters, right? So this will be somewhat visual for those of you who are watching it. So I'll try to show as many discs as possible. If not, I'll describe them to you hardcore podcast listeners. Thank you for that. So here, I'm putting with Brody Roaches. I've had these Brody Roaches since I started. I actually put them in jail for a little bit and took them out and put some new Brody Roaches in there. But these two, I have two identical twins, and they have been in my bag since the beginning. I feel comfortable with those. They're just beaten enough where I was throwing them also at the beginning that they're like just extremely flat. Whatever I do to them, they're going to do. So that's what I'm putting with.
Okay.
As far as actual other putters, what I'm considering putters, I have one that has been kind of the star of my bag, my go-to for a little bit. I have an Eclipse Envy here. This is like kind of my go-to throwing putter. I can throw this off the tee. I love this putter because it is extremely straight for me, and I can throw it pretty far for a putter. Anything that's really 250, 275 and under, I'm throwing this putter probably off the tee if it's a more straight and I need like a little reliable fade at the end. I can also, if I have a shot where my zones, which I'll talk about those later, where I wanted to throw a forehand upshot, but I don't want any like I don't want it to hyzer out on me. I'll actually forehand the Envy as well because it gives me a pretty dead straight flight on a forehand. So that's kind of what I'm using that for. And then newest addition to the bag, I added this after the episode that I threw the Rico as a bonus putter. So I have a K3 line Rico here. I love this as a throwing putter because it's a very neutral putter for me that I can throw a decent distance. It's not going to be my like long boy off the tee. That's going to be the Envy. But what I like about this is it has enough stability that I can't flip it over very easy. I could if I tried, but if I mess up and throw a little too much on Annie or whatever, it's not going to burn on me. But I actually can give this just a little encouragement to turn and throw with a little anhyzer, and it'll actually turn. I've been needing a kind of like a sky Annie shot, and this one will do that for me, actually. There's a couple local holes that they're kind of a forehand, but my forehand's not accurate enough off the tee, and I don't want to throw a driver because I don't want it to roll down the hill at me. So I'm throwing a big turnover instead. So I'm throwing more and more shots with it. And I just love how it feels in my hand. It's just enough of firmness that I feel confident with it, but it's not so hard and tough that it feels uncomfortable.
Okay. So the K3 plastic for those of us who are not Castaplast like fanatics or anything like that.
Castanauts. We'll call them Castanauts.
For us non-Castanauts living here on basic planet Earth, the K3 plastic is their baseline.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Correct.
Perfect. Because
and they have a K3 and a K3 hard. This is just a K3.
Okay. Awesome. So I think honestly, looking at your like mid or your putter shots, I kind of love the fact that you have just four. Obviously, like in a dream world, we'd love to see. We always talk about mold minimalization. Have you ever tried throwing a roach before, like a premium plastic roach?
Yeah, those. I used to throw one of those putters and putt with one of them.
Okay.
But not a premium. I'm sorry. I've thrown those, but not a premium roach.
Okay.
So
that makes sense, I guess. But the roach is probably going to be a little flippier than the Rico is, I'm guessing, out of the gate, or they fly pretty similar.
Roach is a little flippier. Again, premium plastic, I don't know. I haven't really thrown any, but the baseline, like even your Brody swirl roaches, those are all pretty flippy if you put a little heat on them.
Okay. So another question I have about putters that I don't think we've ever talked about this on the podcast before. You said you have the twin of that roach. Mm-hmm. Are there any distinguishable like differences between those two putters, or do you have to are they properly identical?
Okay, they're identical except so I'm pretty like when I'm putting, I guess just a form thing. Like my roaches, they're always facing the same. Like the stamp has to be switched toward me. Must be this one then. One of them has a perfect nick in the top that if I'm like, I need a little bit more distance, I'm going to choose that one.
Okay. Because
it's going to stay a little flatter for me. It doesn't have like the other one has like just a little hint more fade. Like 0.01 more fade, but I feel more confident with that one that has a dink in the top as this one.
Okay.
So you probably can't see it, but there's there it is. You see the gash there.
Yeah.
So, and it's just a good place. I can put my finger there and I'm like, okay, I'm confident with you. You're my OG, like you're the one I've had the longest. So that's the only difference. Weight identical, stamp identical. I mean, they're literally twins.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm here for, especially the weight identical, because obviously we want to make sure that we have as similar putters as possible. I know it's honestly, and Brad, tell me if you've heard this before. There's like a theory about putting with putting putters where some people prefer to have in their two putting putters. They prefer to have like a notable difference. They can know this is the like, yeah. Or there are others who love to have that twin, so they have no idea which one is which, and they just grab whichever one.
Yeah.
So
I'm definitely theoretically, I like the twin theory, although I do have that distinguishable difference between the two. That was not on purpose.
I'm with you on that. For me, on putting, I know we talk about this a lot when it comes to like how if you have too many discs with overlap, it can create some decision issues in terms of, oh yeah, like, should I throw this Mako 3 or should I throw this uplink or should I throw, like, they're all so close to each other. For me on putting, I think I'm landing more and more on the stance of I'm okay if you have that distinguishable fact between the two, because since putting is so mental anyways, if you have that one that you're more confident with, that you're like, I know that notch gives me the confidence, boom. I don't see that being a bad thing. Right. And then if you're halfway through your round and you're like, well, the notch one's not working,
switch it out.
There's almost like, that confidence boost again of switching to the other one. So I think, I don't know, if you're listening and you want to join us in the comments, I would love to debate someone, or not even debate. That makes it sound like I'm like going to be harsh opposed. I'd love to learn why you truly believe that not knowing actually helps you. Right. Because Brad, my current daggers in the bag, I have one and it is just a tick lighter in terms of like the blue.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. So that is, I'm with you on that. So it's just, it's something we never talked about before, but we always tell people to have two in their bag. And I always wonder if people have a difference. Another compliment I want to give you is we taught you the flip up forehand with the uplink. And it sounds like you've achieved that with that Envy.
Yeah. Yep. It is. If I just need that straight line to the basket, I have a natural highs release anyway with my forehand. So yeah, it's exactly what it does.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, the only thing that I would say you're missing in terms of like the putters is just an understable throwing putter, which we had talked about before. And there are new discs on the horizon that may be able to help.
Yeah, that one's definitely a contender. The one that this disc Robbie and I are talking about. Another thing I'm thinking about too is since I like the Envy and I like the hand feel, I'm thinking about maybe putting in a like Cosmic Electron Envy or something like that I know will kind of, it won't take as much of a beating and get a little bit straighter for me and maybe a little flippy, because I know again I do field work with Jason typically for these podcasts, and he has a couple Cosmic Electron Envies that are pretty flippy for him. So that may be another option too.
Yeah. The one I would avoid is Plasma. Plasma is probably just as overstable as the Electron, or not the Electron, as the
Neutron.
Eclipse.
Eclipse
is the word I was looking for. So the one you have, the base plastic Envies work really well as well. Like if you get an Electron firm, they don't dink up as fast as you would think. And if you're already throwing a base plastic Rico, it could be a good alternative.
Yeah. And I think in another one too, and forgive me if I'm incorrect, but the Proxy I know is more understable version of that. And they feel I have to like look at the stamp when I feel them. They feel so similar. So maybe that kind of plays into the subconscious confidence of the Envy, if maybe I just throw a Proxy in there instead. So
Amen.
Maybe that works.
Yeah. So definitely some options to look at. Let's move on to the sweet spot. Let's talk about some zones.
Right. Yeah. So I have some, obviously this is kind of like that gray area. 1 to 3 is kind of like the sweet spot. 1 to 3 is kind of like the sweet spot. 2 to 4 is kind of like the medium. 3 to 5 is kind of like the medium. 4 to 6 is kind of like the sweet spot. 5 to 7 is kind of like the sweet spot. 6 to 8 is kind of like the medium. 7 to 9 is kind of like the sweet spot. 8 to 10 is kind of like the medium. 9 to 11 is kind of like the sweet spot. 10 to 12 is kind of like the sweet spot. 11 to 12 is kind of like the sweet spot. 12 to 14 is kind of like the sweet spot. 13 to 14 is kind of like the sweet spot. 14 to 15 is kind of like the sweet spot. 15 to 16 is kind of like the sweet spot. 16 to 18 is kind of like the sweet spot. 18 to 19 is kind of like the sweet spot. 19 to 20 is kind of like the sweet spot. 20 to 21 is kind of like the sweet spot. 21 these are my approach discs, right? These are my pitching wedges. So this is kind of what I look at them as. Um, the real workhorse, I guess, kind of pun intended, to my bag in general. It's my get out of jail free card. It's my like confident approach dialed in. I mean, I have my Crystal Flex get freaky zone here. That's kind of like, I love this disc. If I ever lost this disc, I would be literally heartbroken. I may not even play for like a year. Like that disc is like my go-to. I'm so confident with it. I'm so comfortable. I'm sure everyone in the comments, what's that disc in your bag that you're just like, I'm so confident with this disc. I don't even care if I can throw it as far as I need to. Like, I'm pulling this out. If my life was on the line, what disc am I pulling out?
For sure.
Mine's to get freaky. I have two other zones, and they kind of do different things for me. This one's for the haters. This is the photon zone that I have here. I've had this a long time. Actually, one of my sons bagged this for a while, and it's kind of beaten in. So I really love it, and it's like a little bit like warped, which is making it a little bit straighter. So if I have like a zone shot that I need to go like farther, carry farther straighter, like this is kind of the photon zone is going to be my go-to for that. I do have a jawbreaker zone as well in the bag. If I'm being 100% honest, I've only thrown it a couple times, but I'm trying to decide, like, do I want to dedicate the time to beat this zone in to be really straight or even flippy? If I need like it would be like a one-off shot, right? It would be a very specific shot, but I don't know that I want to give up room in my bag for something so specific. So it's just in there. I haven't really pulled it out yet. But I haven't really decided if I'm keeping it in yet. So this one's on the fence. But
Okay.
I've heard Connor, and he has one, talk so much about how much he loves his jawbreaker zone that he has beaten into perfection. But again, I'm trying to avoid as much as I can, like relying on discs that are just so beat in. I want like a disc that can fill that slot that I can pull out. So
Yeah.
and really the reason I'm kind of like iffy now is I added a mid range to my bag. That's like it. That's very weird. Alexa's talking in the background. I don't know why. Sorry. But I added a mid range to my bag that's like very straight. That kind of like if I needed to throw something super straight, and I even have some forehand discs I could do that with too. So we'll talk about that later.
Okay.
New addition to the bag. As you all know, if you've listened to the podcast for any length of time, you probably know I love my zone, but I hate throwing it backhand. I only throw them forehand. I did find a disc that's very similar that I love to throw on backhand, but I don't love to forehand.
Okay.
So Razor Claw 3.
Interesting.
So
Okay.
yeah. It's just like a little deeper for me, and I think that's why I don't mind it on backhand. I don't feel like my fingers are crammed. Not quite as overstable as my Get Freaky zone, but overstable enough that it's basically the same shot mirrored on my backhand. So I
Okay.
recently added that. I'm loving that. I actually added it during the video Jason and I filmed for our punishment. I had to get creative and add some extra discs in, so it kind of forced me to throw it. So I'm really liking that for sure. And really for approach discs, that's kind of what's doing the work for me, just those discs only. Again, I get a little creative if I have to move up to mids. We'll talk about my Bobcat later. It does a lot of work for me. And then if I'm going lower, usually the Envy is doing some work for me.
Okay. So the mold minimalization here, huge. I'm all about the having something on a backhand and a forehand. Totally get that because I know lots of people. I play with a guy, Randy, who is the exact same way. Like barely ever throws his zone on a backhand, and it's just that shallowness.
Mm-hmm.
It's just real hard to get any solid grip on it there. So I can get that totally. I like the addition of the razor claw. I think that's super good. Here's my challenge on the jawbreaker zone because, and like I want to walk through that thought process with you of like, should I have a beat in disc, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the photon zone, hard to replace because it was a limited run.
Right.
I'm sure they exist out there. But it would be one thing if you were trying to like for the jawbreaker zone to have a super beat in one. If you had other jawbreaker zones you are working into your bag,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one thing.
Right.
because then if you cycle one out, you're going to be fine because you have another one that you're actively working on. So I would wonder, does a beat in Eclipse Envy have enough stability? Like when you throw, have you thrown like a fresh Eclipse Envy alongside a fresh Jawbreaker Zone?
I haven't. No.
Because I would be curious, because my guess is that because you've had that one Eclipse Envy in your bag for so long, it's almost like made you forget how overstable that Envy was when it started.
Probably. Yeah. Okay.
So
Interesting.
yeah, I would wonder, can that Eclipse Envy, can you have two of those in your bag to fill that Jawbreaker Zone slot,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Okay.
you're proper cycling?
Yeah, interesting. Okay, yeah, because I'm definitely not stuck on having it in there for any reason. It was just kind of a thought that, like you said, kind of faded because I'm really working through, is that really going to help me or not?
Yeah.
And then yeah, with this photon zone, I actually have a couple of them, so I'm not too concerned. But again, I'm not like, my heart is not set on that disc being in there either.
Yeah.
So
Well, and I think you're fine with the Photon Zone, especially if you have a couple backups of them, because the Photon's a little more premium plastic in itself, right? Like it's not completely base feel.
Um, to me, I don't know what the technical, like the correct answer to that is. To me, it feels more base plastic.
Okay.
It's more
But
of like
it's
a
been in
harder
there.
plastic. Yeah.
Yeah. It's been in there a while. So it's not like
Yeah.
it's beating in fast.
Yeah. Right. And I don't throw it a ton. Right. I'm only bringing it out for specific occasions where I'm like, oh, this would be a great shot for my get freaky, but I need like 50, 60 more feet. I'm going to bring out that disc.
Yeah.
So,
Like I just got some more pigs and have dropped a set that was like these collaboration mix between XT and R Pros.
mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, I'll pick them up. I got them. They felt okay,
Mm-hmm.
but I instantly knew, like, cool, whether this was good or not, I'm not going to bag this because it's a super limited run. And based on how much I throw pigs,
Yeah.
I'm going to burn through these so fast.
Right.
But if it's lasting you a while and you have a couple backups already, I think you're like great to keep that Photon Zone in your
Mm-hmm.
bag, especially if there's a comfort there.
Mm-hmm.
That's why, like, if you're listening and you see a limited run of something, buy one, quickly test it, and then if you love it, buy three more right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
Like, buy them while they're still somewhat fresh, as opposed to waiting 3 years from now and being like, oh yeah, I want to go get a Photon Zone.
Right.
Tough
Yeah.
sledding, brother.
Yep. Yeah,
So
exactly.
I think you're dialed there, and not having the Jawbreaker, I think, would allow you to still keep minimal molds with
Right.
just adding another envy in there. So we accomplish the same goal. It's just
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we get fixated on it has to be that, and you're not fixated. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
okay, let's talk other mid ranges then.
Okay. So this is a gap, or the mid range slot. Again, if you've listened to the podcast, you know that I didn't really have a lot going on there. It was really, I had my buzz for a while, and that's really about it. That's really, unless you're counting zones, like that was my mid range game, right? So, and I had a ton of drivers that I did not need. So that's really shifted to my mid range slot is weighted pretty heavily now.
Okay.
So, in my understable slot, you know what it is. I got uplinks here. So I've got a special edition soft and then a regular neutron. So really, they're pretty similar. I don't notice a ton of difference, but I like having two of them just because this is a disc I don't want to lose and
Yeah.
not have one on the course. Um, Again, if I have tunnel shots that I need to like flip up to flat for me, pretty with the key with the uplink, the thing that I love the most about it is I do not have to throw this hard at all. And if I'm throwing these for typically control shots is what I'm really throwing these discs for, and I want them to go like dead straight. And if I need to flip them up and go dead straight and turn to the
Yeah.
right with very minimal effort, like this is the disc. So that's why there's two. I can't play a course without an uplink. So I do not want to risk losing one. Also, so kind of the newest addition to the mid-range category in my bag. I do have a mind bender here.
Ooh,
So
okay.
yeah, again, For me, there's no. I think you would think there'd be overlap between the uplink and the mindbender. For me, the mindbender is just extremely straight. It's but I feel like I do have to throw it harder than the uplink, so I do feel like I can get some more distance out of it. But it's understable enough that I can kind of control whatever angle I give it. It's going to take. Um, Again, like I said, I can get more distance, but I do have to put some more power on it. So that's why it kind of exists with the uplink. After that, the people's mid range. So here's this cool nebula that Silas died for me. Thanks, Silas. It's pretty sick. And then I have identical. They're both from the Ledgestone, the 2022 Ledgestone run. They're both Big
So
Z.
good.
Yeah. So I love these discs. They are dead straight. I can throw these at comfortably 280, 300. Very straight with a very reliable fade at the end. Not a ton of fade, but just enough fade that I know I can give it some heat, either hang it out a little right, or if the basket's to the left, I can just throw kind of dead straight and let it fade naturally to the left. I don't throw any of the discs. I just said I don't throw them on forehand unless the uplink, that very specific flip up and turn left forehand if I'm in trouble. And then last but not least, again, a workhorse in my bag, which is the just Bobcat and Sublime plastic. This disc is so overstable for me. It's very, very overstable. A shot that I've really thrown a couple times that I cannot believe. I keep throwing it because I'm like, eventually this shot won't work anymore and I'm going to get burned. But if I'm scrambling, I can actually throw a forehand roller with this disc very well. It'll just, because I can even, if I throw a bad angle, it's still going to not flip up is not the word I'm looking for. You know what I mean? But it does curl up for me and go and just roll forever, which is kind of funny. I threw it on accident one time, and then I've thrown it like probably 10 times since then on a forehand roller, and it's worked. So this one, if I need a flex forehand, I'm going to throw. I'll also throw this on a little bit of Anheuser on backhand, even though it's a little shallow. If I have like a flex shot I need to throw on like a mid-range distance, that's pretty close. Robbie, you played Fallen Creek. So it's funny. I will either forehand this Bobcat off of hole one. It's like, I think it's around like 250 feet, and I can kind of park it, even if I need to like kind of flex it a little bit, because it doesn't have a ton of glide for me. I can park it there, or I can even throw the backhand line and do a flex shot, or like a giant flex line around that pine tree. I can do that too. So pretty versatile disc. I will call it usable understability or overstability for me.
Okay.
So that's what I got in the mid ranges. Robbie, tell me what the deal is.
Yeah. So the Bobcat, when you look at the flight numbers of the Bobcat, I think it's a classic. Like, those are not accurate, because the Bobcat flight numbers are 5502.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, 5507. Yeah, no, I'll call it a 04. I mean, for me anyway, that's kind of what it flies like.
Yeah. So my question would be, so you said there's a difference. When we talked about the Razor Claw, you were like, the Bobcat does something different for me. What situations are you pulling out the Bobcat versus going to the Razor Claw?
Razor Claw. No, I haven't tried a ton of flex lines with a Razor Claw, but because the Razor Claw is definitely overstable, but it's not as overstable as the Bobcat. Bobcat is like the stability of my Crystal Flex Zone, but longer.
Okay.
And I would say even a little bit more overstable than that. This is, and again, it's overstable enough to throw like a thumber. It's overstable enough to kind of do some of those weird utility shots too that I need to do.
Gotcha. Okay. So I like looking at your mid ranges. Honestly, I think there's not a ton to talk about there, because you've been very methodical in picking them out and selecting them. The fun part about your big approach category is that I think you and I live in like a similar world of that, where you could quickly look and say, oh, he either has a ton of putters in his bag or he has a ton of mid ranges in his bag. Depends on the day. Depends on how you're using them, right? So
right. Exactly.
you've got you've got some really solid options. I kind of love the addition of the Mindbender in there
Mm-hmm.
because when you look at, like, you'll see it on the chart, there's actually a pretty big gap between your uplinks to your nebulas.
Mm-hmm.
And that Mindbender sits dead middle. Now, I'll go ahead and give the hot take of the internet. To me, the Mindbender, when I held it, is like a metal flake Mako 3.
Mm-hmm. I will say, to be fair, it feels very similar. But there's definitely something, and I don't know what it is. Probably if I felt one back. Actually, is this a Mako 3? All right, there's a Mako 3 on this desk randomly.
Wow.
What are the odds?
Come on.
Yeah. I think if we look again, this is going to be awkward, but I mean, very similar. This is like a weird angle. The Mindbender is just a little bit more of an aggressive angle compared to the Mako 3, which is what I think. If we recall the Mako 3 episode where I threw it, I think I wanted to like it. It just felt it was very slippery for me. It just kind of like didn't want to stick in my hand.
Yeah.
And the Mindbender, and again, I wanted to love the Mako 3 because I loved the flight of the Mako 3. But yeah, the Mindbender, I was definitely feeling that gap between the uplink and the nebula. And that's when, again, it's funny how many things came out of that video that we shot that the world may never see. But you know, I loved it because I love the stamp. I'm a Simon fan, and it felt good when I picked it up. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to get one, and I'm going to throw it in the field one day, and we'll see how it goes. Yeah. It forced me to put it in my bag, so I had to get a little creative. And I threw it, and I was like, dang, I love this thing. So, yeah, it feels good. It definitely came out the other day several times when I was playing, and it feels great. It's dead straight for me, so which is hard to find.
Yeah. So I definitely think that, like, over time, the more you get used to a mold like that, I think your uplinks could be scared. If you really end up beating that Mindbender in a lot, finding when MD1s become like stock run in the new Discmania plastic. Right. Definitely some options to consider there. So like I said, I love your mid-range setup. I think there's not a ton to talk about with it just because you've done a really good job finding that balance and knowing that the Bobcat doesn't stay true to numbers. You pretty much have everything covered there. So let's dive into fairways.
Okay. If it's okay with you, I'm going to put like fairway control kind of in the same category, if that's all right. That's kind of how I'm thinking about it. Here's the point in my bag that I'm definitely starting to think about a little bit more as my arm speed is getting a little faster, as I feel like I'm working on my form and kind of getting a better idea of how these discs are supposed to be thrown. So definitely putting in work here. Let me pull these out. All right, so I have a lot of duplicate molds in this section. I forgot I added that.
Oh, surprise.
Yeah, no, I love it. That's why I completely forgot about it. Okay, so for my understable category, again, I have 2 jackalopes in my bag. Everybody knows Jackalope Gang here for sure. So I have this Apex jackalope, and then I have an Eternal jackalope. The Apex is a little flippier than the Eternal. The Eternal is pretty straight for me, but if I give it just a little encouragement on Annie, it's going to turn. So it'll usually land pretty neutral or just a little bit right for me. Now the Apex will definitely turn when I throw it, and I can encourage it to take a pretty big turn without flipping over or without burning over. So again, trying to be more cautious and cognizant of my angles that I'm throwing after watching a video of myself play. Again, if you have not done that, number one, don't recommend doing it in front of 50,000 people first time. Number two, no, you all are very kind. I appreciate it, but definitely film yourself. I was kind of in the school thought of, hey, it's not really going to help that much. I don't want to watch myself throw, but man, has it made me so like aware of my feet, how much I'm squatting, where my release angle is, where I'm pulling through, so it just, it messed with my mind for a while, but
for sure,
I think I'm on the other side of it where I'm like, okay, let's do one thing at a time here. Let's fix one thing at a time. Yeah. That's my understable option. Another recent addition to the bag that um, again, I felt the pain of this spot, that not having it, but now I have it. So I added the grackle to my bag. Um, if you've
Okay.
not thrown the grackle, it's fairly recent addition and fairly recent release. So the grackle, and it's 167. It's a little lighter. Um,
Okay.
but this is a very this is the nebula of my fairways, which
Hmm.
is what I was kind of looking for. It's very straight, like laser beam straight, and then at the very end, it's going to give me a consistent fade out. Yeah,
Nice.
very very true to its name, I suppose. So I love it, and it feels good in my hand. And it's and correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's a 9-speed. It might be less. I'm really sorry if I'm butchering that. I think I am. I think I'm incorrect. But
Yeah.
um, so yeah, it's got just enough room that it feels very comfortable. Which again, the fairway slot is where I struggle because of the rim width.
Mm.
Um, but it's just deep enough and just wide enough that it feels comfortable. And I'm actually like, I don't know. It's just a great disc, and I've thrown it a lot in wooded situations where I need that, like get through this gap and then fade to the basket. So,
Yeah.
really loving that. Um, honorable mention that's not in the bag yet. I haven't done enough field work to feel comfortable. Um, they Mint also just put out a disc called the Diamondback. That's like a straight version of this, like even a straighter. I think it's a straighter 9-speed, like a 9.5 -1.1, something like that. That
Yeah.
may switch this up a little bit, but it's still in the practice bag, if you will.
Okay. Okay.
Just honorable mention.
Brett,
Okay.
would you be willing to come back on an episode in the future and talk about your findings with the Diamondback?
No. uh,
Yeah, you got to be our first.
yeah, good. I wanted to be. I was hoping I had the opportunity. Okay. Um, let's talk about. Okay, there are two different molds here, but I'm just going to call them all the same.
Okay.
We actually did an episode on this, right?
Yeah.
Um, in the bag fins, you know I love my vultures, right? So here is the vulture you hear me talk about all the time. This bright yellow beaten Z vulture that's seen better days. It's dirty, it's beat up, and I love it. I love this disc. Again,
Okay.
this is a close, like there's like 3 discs in my bag that I'd be very sad about. Envy, Crystal Flex Zone, and this disc. If I was playing a 3-disc round, I'd probably pick this as my
Awesome.
driver. I also have this cool TI Ninja Turtles, what I call it, vulture
Ooh.
that I found in the used section. I don't know what it is about this disc, but I can throw this thing far. It does not
Leonardo,
fly like
baby.
a vulture, but it feels good. Yeah, Leonardo. That's what I'll call it. And then guess what made it into the bag? My first Innova mold in this bag is this Halo Thunderbird.
Ooh, it
So
did make it. Okay.
it did. Again, I find myself, I can throw it a little farther than that Z Vulture, but it has the exact same flight as a beat-in Z Vulture. This Halo Thunderbird, which you think it would be more overstable, which I
For
thought
sure.
most. It's not. I don't know what it is, but I just have some confidence with it because of the vulture that I didn't think I would. So it stayed in there. And again, like these 3 discs are kind of the same in my mind. They do the same thing. But again, I have like my old faithful that this thing is so overstable still. I don't know how. But it's very straight until the end, and then it will just run to the left. So I love that. This vulture will do pretty much the same thing, except I can throw it very far. And then the Halo Thunderbird is kind of my equivalent to my other Z Vulture. It'll just go a little bit further, just a 50 feet.
Okay.
So, and that's all I have. That's all I have right now. There are definite gaps there, but I'm kind of like adding things as I become comfortable with them.
Yeah.
/ subtracting.
So the biggest gap that I see that you don't have, you literally are trying the Diamondback in that slot.
Yeah.
So I think that's another reason the Diamondback's calling to you is saying, yo, bro, we need something in this like neutral to understable slot. Not as understable as the Jackalope, but the Jackalope, especially in the Apex plastic, I feel like the more you use that, because you haven't had the Jackalope in that, like your Apex Jackalope's only been in there a couple months, right?
Yeah, the Apex Jackalope's only been in there about a month.
So it really hasn't gotten a chance to shine
Mm-hmm.
and get to that. I think a lot of times when people put those understable discs in their bag, and trust me, chat, I am just as guilty of this.
Mm-hmm.
We want that super flippy option off the shelf.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is, if it's that flippy off the shelf, it's going to be unusable a couple months from now,
Right.
especially if we rely on it. So the jackalope, I think, could be that for you. It's just got to have some time
Mm-hmm.
to get seasoned and shine.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because I love that you said you could get it to turn but not burn.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Right. Yeah.
So
I think what will probably happen is it's just exactly what you're saying. I'll probably have like a beat-in apex jackalope that is really flippy, a fresh apex jackalope that's pretty straight but a little flippy, and then the eternal jackalope may like completely come out, and then that's where the diamondback comes in. Give me that
totally,
straight. That's really what I'm using the jackalope for right now. Just to be clear, it's very straight, and I can encourage it to turn if I want to, which is
yeah.
probably what the diamondback does.
So do you find some difficulty choosing between, let's say, the grackle and the it's not apex, the other jackalope,
The eternal.
the eternal?
Mm-hmm. No, and the reason is that grackle has that bite, that fade at the end that the jackalope does not have.
Okay,
So, yeah, like there's a specific hole that's perfect. I mean, there's many holes like this, but I'm the one I'm thinking about at the top of my mind. Uh, um, it's at Camp Hideaway here. That is it's a pretty wide open shot, but it's not a tunnel. But it's along a road. It's very clear, and then the basket is just like 50 feet off to the left in around like there's guardian trees all the way around it.
okay,
So but what I want to do, and it's kind of like the road's up here and then the basket is slightly lower in elevation, so I'm going to throw that, and it's going to start fading at the end, give me a nice skip over and into those guardian trees. Like that's just the picture perfect shot. And I mean everyone has that shot on their home course
for
probably
sure.
or something like that, and there's many courses here that have that shot that I'm pulling that out for.
Yeah. And the grackle, it sounds like the grackle serves a really cool step. Like it's, if we think of like a ladder, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
step one is the envy, step two is the nebula, step three is the grackle, step
Yes.
four is probably the thunderbird or the vulture.
Mm-hmm. Correct. Yeah, those are a little bit more overstable, but yeah, that's definitely the step up to that.
So that I'm here for. The grackle, I'm probably wrong on this. Trying to keep track of all the molds and new dish releases these
Right.
days is crazy, and I don't even have the job you have. The grackle's like fairly new, just as an
Yeah.
overall mold, right?
Yeah. I think about a month or so. Yeah.
Okay, so it's only released in the Apex plastic right now.
Correct. Right.
Okay, so
I'm
that could
sorry.
be
The Sublime plastic.
sublime. Sublime. Sorry. Not trying to offend all the manufacturers out there. So yeah, and that, like, I think there's definitely a world that if you love that grackle, it could also expand in that slot,
Sure.
just because you could get different plastic types. Your fairways just take a while to beat in. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know why. Distance drivers for me honestly beat in faster than fairway drivers.
Mm-hmm. Well, for me, what I'm trying to force myself to do, and maybe this will help with that, is I really don't see a lot of need for me to throw a distance driver off the tee. With how
Yeah.
far I'm throwing with my arm speed, there's really not a whole lot. I mean, there's a couple holes, right? But there's only one disc I'm really throwing farther in distance than any of these. So I'm really trying to like force myself to throw more grackles off the tee, or throw more jackalopes, or even throw more mids, which we can probably see from when we talked about the mids. So maybe it's just because I don't know how often you throw your fairways, but probably knowing you, and you have bigger hands as well, you probably feel more comfortable going to a distance driver than a fairway. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. Like, yeah, I would. There are lots of holes that I'd rather just step up and try to yeet a mid all the way there.
Hmm.
than even touch fairway drivers to begin with. So
Right.
that is definitely the truth. Okay, so yeah, looking at all this, the other question I would have is from hand feel, does the rim width of the Halo Thunderbird feel any different? Like, do you feel that 9 to 10 speed wind, like rim width difference between your
Mhm.
Vultures and your Thunderbird?
Yeah, a little bit. Definitely a little bit. And I got to be honest, the Vulture's more comfortable.
Okay. Yeah. And that's so fascinating to me, just in terms of if the Thunderbird is flying like a beat in Vulture, flying
Hmm.
further, I wonder if the difference is your hand, it feels uncomfortable, but like that disc is better suited for your game kind of a deal.
Probably.
Um, just being that one tick down in speed can be a huge difference.
Hmm. Right.
Um, and it's interesting to me. Like I feel like lots of people operate in twos when it comes to their game. Like
Mm.
if you love 7 speeds, you're probably going to love some 9 speeds as well. If
Yeah.
you love, but you probably don't bag any 8s
Hmm.
when that is the case. If you
Yeah.
love 8 speeds, you probably love 10 speeds, but you don't have 7s in your bag.
Interesting.
So you are a bit of an anomaly because that Grackle is actually, they list it as a 7.
Okay. Interesting.
So with your Jackalope love, that's why I think the Thunderbird definitely, like, that's that 8-10 between the Jackalope to the
Hmm.
Vulture.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's just, if you're listening and you are currently stuck on those fairway molds, if you have a bunch of 7 speeds, like the classic 7 speed molds, the Eagle, the T-Bird, the Evader, like there are tons of
Hmm.
7 speed options out there. And if you feel like all of those are terrible for you, step up and try an 8 and see, that literally could be the difference. Try a Mantis, try like, there
Hmm.
are so many options out there. Cool. Well, you said there's one disc that you throw farther than your
Hmm.
current discs. So let's talk distance drivers to close it out.
Yeah. So my distance driver category is very short and sad right now, but I don't think it needs to be. Really, here's what I have in my distance driver category right now. I have my mold that I throw backhand and my mold that I throw forehand. That's it.
Okay.
So that's kind of where we're operating. So for my backhand distance driver, I have the Era. So everyone knows my Era. These are the factory second ones, but I have two of them. This Halo one was, I think there was like an accident when they were mixing the plastics because you can't find them anymore. But it's a little bit more overstable,
Okay.
but not so overstable that I can't throw it. I throw this one as far as I throw any disc. And then my gray one is just a little lighter. It's 168. So I had it first actually, and I love it. And then my Eli, my youngest, loved it, so I gave it to him, and he's like, "Dad, I'm done with this." So I put it back in my bag, just to have, just to just to have two,
Yeah.
because again, if I lost my Era, I think I'd be very scared.
Yeah.
I'm feeling more comfortable with my fairways, so I could probably lean on them and be just fine. But there's definitely a confidence in distance. Just if I have an open field, hole number 2 on Fallen Creek, where the basket's 450 feet away, I can throw this and it's uphill, and I can throw this and I'll be within zone range for my next shot. So just an easy chip up and an easy birdie. So that's what I keep these for, like the bigger distance shot. They're stable enough that I can give them a little ante to flex them out and give them a tiny bit more distance, but not so overstable again that they're going to just uh, crash out to the left for me.
Okay.
And then for it's just my forehand distance of thrashers. So I have this beat-in Z thrasher here that I love. It's a little flippy on my forehand now, where I've gotten my forehand arm speed up, so I can throw this on a little bit of hyzer. It'll flip up to flat and then still reliably fade for me. And then one I'm working in that's a little bit naturally flippier. I have a Janus Thrasher that I have worked into the bag as well. Something about the Thrasher, again, I do this like power grip forehand. Something about the Thrasher in my hand, I just have confidence and it feels good. Um, Dual purpose, I feel comfortable throwing these on backhand as well. So if
Okay.
I got in a pinch, these would definitely be I haven't thrown them on backhand enough recently to know what they're going to do. They're really only my bag off the tee distance forehand that I
Okay.
know I can go long and flat with a reliable fade.
Interesting.
And that's it. That's all of my distance drivers.
Okay. Well, I applaud you once again, just like in the putter slot. I applaud you in the minimalization here. So, man, I would be so curious because you have come so far in your throwing ability that I would love to see you throw those thrashers on a backhand.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, okay, if I didn't have the era in my bag
Mm-hmm.
and I had to throw thrashers, have you tried throwing your eras on forehands?
No, I don't know why. I just haven't.
So that might be a fun challenge to do one day. Like when you go out with
Mm-hmm.
the family, it's all right. I have to play backwards bag, and
Mm-hmm.
that is like anything that I traditionally throw on forehand has to go on backhand. Backhand has to go on forehand,
Yeah.
specifically for the era of the thrasher. And I would be curious to see because they do seem to fill a similar slot.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, both
Yeah.
like because the thrasher is innately more understable than the era,
Mm-hmm.
but it's faster.
Right.
So that kind of like balances the speed of it. So I'd just be very curious to see how does the era, like with you having them in front of you, how does the era feel if you like try to put it in that forehand grip?
I mean, it feels really good. Um, the only thing is the plastic is a little bit, I don't know, feels a little slippery. Nothing a little chalk wouldn't fix. But um, again, the thing that I love about, if you notice, my forehand discs are all Discraft. The thing that I love is I love the embossment on the rim. That's where my finger goes. It
Yeah.
just lets me feel, probably comes from baseball where I'm used to finding a stitch maybe.
Yeah.
But like, I love how that feels. And it feels great as far as like room. I have plenty of room here. It does feel a
Yeah.
little slippery.
Yeah.
So I'd have to see. But now thinking about that, I think the reason I'm getting distance out of my forehand, well, I know it's the reason I'm relying on a flippier distance driver because I think I'm getting up remotely up to speed as far as forehand.
Yeah.
But it'd be interesting because I know the Arrow is a 10 speed. It's a little slower, and this one's lighter. I wonder what that would do on forehand. So yeah, definitely have to try that out.
Yeah. And you have, I mean, even when you're talking about that Z Thrasher, it's beat into a point where you have to be gentle when you're throwing it anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So if you took that same approach to the era and took it nice and smooth and
Mm-hmm.
flip it up rather than just like sheer raw,
Yeah.
like you're not throwing it like your Bobcat flex forehand. You're
Yeah.
just smooth it up. I think that could be very interesting, and I think you might surprise yourself once again. Uh, that's that is like distance drivers are one of those categories. I'm saying this to myself, and y'all get to be
Mm-hmm.
a part of the self talk therapy. But distance drivers, whenever we improve our form and we start seeing our putters go farther, we instantly like run to the distance drivers, and all that usually awaits us is disappointment
Mm-hmm.
because oh, we're not getting the more distance. We're not like, but we have to like remember nose angle issues on the distance drivers and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But if you like walk into your distance drivers with just an open mind, I want to see what they're going to do rather than I've improved elsewhere, therefore I have to improve with distance drivers.
Mm-hmm.
You might surprise yourself in some pretty drastic ways.
Yeah, and that's kind of that's why there's only two molds there. I'm really trying to take my own advice and our advice we're giving people and like really focusing on really developing these other spots in my bag, but definitely feeling because I know one thing I'm missing is a distance driver that is more overstable
Yeah.
for again now that I'm like playing more and playing in different conditions. The other day there's a lot of wind. I really could use like a more overstable era option. Now there is the composite era, which is more overstable. So I'm thinking about adding that in as kind of like a more overstable distance option, or even something very overstable for me, like a Zeus. I had that in my bag for a while, just to have it, just in case.
Yeah.
And then I guess technically, I'm always trying to think of: do I have a flippy option, a neutral option, a slightly overstable, and then an overstable option? I guess I don't really have a flippy option either for the distance driver category, but maybe one day. That's definitely kind of the next spot that I'm focusing in my bag for sure.
Yeah. Well, you're moving in the right path, Brad. And I would be, yeah, I'll be very curious 25 episodes from now when we revisit and go, hey, like, let's look at it. Let's see what's stuck around and what hasn't. If you had to make a future prediction, what mold do you think is most likely to stick around in your bag, and what mold is most likely to not be there?
What's sticking around? Um, I think there's a lot of things that are sticking around. My biggest fear that I think is going to come out of my bag is probably, as much as I love it, um, maybe the jackalope.
Okay.
Just because I think there's probably better options. And again, now that
Interesting.
we'll see how the Diamondback throws,
Yeah,
it may kind of fill the gap that I want, especially with more plastics coming out.
for
But
sure.
and I've preached how much I love the jackalope. I've got a jackalope flat bill. Like, I'm all in on the jackalope. I still like it, but I'm worried it's just going to come out. It may
Yeah.
get to the point where it just makes more sense to have something else in there. If I'm being very honest.
Okay.
What's staying in for sure that's not going anywhere is my Crystal Flex Get Freaky Zone. My zones are not going anywhere. Zone Gang, they're obviously Jawbreaker's a different discussion, but some variety of zone is always going to be in my bag for
Yeah.
sure. And I guess runner up, as much as I love the Vulture, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if those stay in there. It may be a situation where I go like bump down to a Raptor or something.
Yeah.
Um, and then kind of like maybe go down to a Raptor and then maybe experiment with the Thunderbird a little bit more.
Okay.
So just a thought.
Yeah. And let us know in the comments, if you looked at your bag and had to make a prediction 6-8 months from now, what's the tried and true one that's sticking around, and what is the one that is which one's in the hot seat right now? Love to hear that, because I think that we need to understand that our bags are constantly evolving. Our bags are constantly changing, because hopefully you're improving your game. Hopefully you're taking steps to become a better player. Because if you're not, that's fine too. Like, if you're completely happy where you're at and you're like, cool, I'm just good with that, then lock in that bag and
Yeah.
never change. Keep doing you.
Yeah.
But that's not what we're trying to do here on In the Bag. We want to make sure that as you're improving, as you're getting better, you're making those changes. And like, you're not all Brad who get to test it out in front of 50,000 people. But it's worth it to try and improve. Brad, this is a little different than we normally do, because normally we get to have some transitionary moment, right? Of the guest leaves. But we'll just make it super awkward, right?
No, this is like, I love this. This is truly a one cut show. Silas is going to love us for this one. I think the natural transition is what's new in the warehouse.
Yeah.
Because that's what we normally do. And here's how I'll bridge this together. The reason I'm saying that about the jackalope is I have thrown the soda several times now, and I'm a fan. So
it's fantastic.
So I think that's going to be in contention for sure in that like understable fairway category. So, and the reason that's even at the top of my mind is because we just got our Clash disc shipment in today. So I saw them right before I walked out of the warehouse to come over and film. So that's going to be new. We have one of all their new molds. They also have a new mold called the Peach coming out.
Did you get to hold it?
Yeah, it feels great.
I threw one recently, and holy cannoli, y'all.
Yep.
Your uplink better be scared. I'll just say that.
It feels great. Yeah, I thought the same thing. So, but yeah, so those are going to be coming up. They probably won't be up when this episode airs on Friday, just because we are still have a logistical nightmare in a good way. Thank you from the sales extravaganza, Dark Horse, whatever it's called. So, we probably won't be getting any new discs up this weekend, but I do have some Halloween Innova stuff coming in. I have some factory store Innova stuff coming in. We're gonna have a drop. I think it's next week for a new Discmania mold. Iron Samurai 3, 4. Is it the 3?
I
4.
think it's 4.
Yeah,
It
it's
might
4.
be 3.
It's 4. You're right. I'm thinking a Razor Claw 3. There's a lot of numbers involved, but yeah, Iron Samurai 4. I think that's next week. If I'm mistaken, it's the week after. So we have the Raptor Eye Judges drop. Actually, today's Thursday when we're filming this. Drop today. I've already dropped. So hopefully you got those if you're interested in the Lucid Ice Criminal. So as always, a ton of stuff coming into the warehouse, and just check it out. Again, recently stocked is your best friend. Recently restocked tab is your best friend. Anything we're putting up new, even just random stock stuff, is going to pop up there, and new things as well. We also have Dark Horse merch now. Discraft and Dark Horse merch is live. So check out that too. If you need hoodies, pullovers, zip ups, all that's ready to go. So
it's getting chilly. Final prediction. Well, I don't know if Brody even listens to our podcast all the way or not, but prediction. Do you think Brody takes down Battle for Bedford this weekend?
I think he does. I mean, the guy has just come so far. I watched his putting. He was doing some warehouse putts with us the other night and just draining them from 60 feet. Like they were like 20 feet. It's just whole nother level. For those of you who think, I could be a pro. Maybe you could, but there's a definite gap between someone like me and someone like Brody or a professional. There's a huge gap.
Hey, maybe you could.
Well, I don't want to like discourage anybody. I mean, if you put your mind to it, maybe you can.
That's true.
There's a definite difference between someone who does it 24/7 and even Hunter or Trevor who play for a living, right? Just not a professional technically, but kind of a professional. The gap between them and Brody is significant. So, hey, everyone can. I'm not going to say everybody can do it. If you put your mind to it and really work and develop the skills, you could probably get to a competitive spot. But that pro level is on a whole nother plane. So, for now, we'll just keep working on our bags as amateurs and have a good time. And if you find discs that are good,
keep them in the bag. We'll catch you on the next one, y'all.
All right, thank y'all. See ya.